प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. So welcome to the Bhagavad Gita Sarartha Varshini Tika along with the sub-commentary which is the Rasikaranjana Tika. So on the 8th chapter we had up till now two classes. We discussed the first section which was Krishna's answers Arjuna's first six questions. And then we also discussed the second section which is remembrance of Krishna at death answers Arjuna's seven questions. So this in the last class we discussed, Krishna answers that at the time of death, one who thinks of me and leaves this body attains my nature, bhava, spiritual nature, and there is no doubt. And Krishna speaks about, na samshaya in only few places in the Gita, and we saw that. And then he gives the general principle, if you think of something else, then sada tad bhava bhavita. And whatever you think is your emotion. So emotions, especially material emotions or material attachments or the attraction or the love what you have for those things. And thinking of that, if you leave this world, then you'll attain that bhava bhavita. And Prabhupada in his purport gives the example of Maharaj Bharat there. And then he concludes, therefore, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, at all times, mam anusmara yuddhacha. So first he says anusmara and then yuddhacha. And then without doubt, one who has offered his mind and intelligence, mai arpit manovadi, he will come to me and there is no doubt about it. So we spoke about how this in the sadhana stage, where the application of the mind and intelligence one has to do, in knowing Krishna as a ab- absolute truth. And this is like the purification of the subtle body. And once in the Siddha stage, when one is having a relationship with Krishna, then definitely, it happens naturally out of love. And that is bhava, spiritual emotions. And in the Siddh stage, it is not applicable, it is natural. But in the sadhana stage, it requires efforts. And that's why Krishna is speaking about it in 8.7. And then he speaks about how he begins now, how to do this. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya kamina paramam purusham divyam yati patanu chintaya. Now, actually, if you see, this verse is speaking about both categories of bhaktas, the Kevala bhaktas and the Yoga Mishra bhaktas. And specifically within the flow, it is speaking about the Yoga Mishra bhaktas, because they have to practice this abhyasa. And even for devotees, this is applicable, atachittam samadhatum na shaknosi mai stiram abhyasa yogena tato mam ichchaptum dhananjaya. 12.8 and 12.9. Yeah, 12.9 in the Bhagavad Gita. So 12.9 is the verse which is speaking about this. So I'm just sharing the screen for 12.9. One second. Let me also first, yeah, 12.9 Bhagavad Gita. I have not yet installed the Veda base because the software, the laptop was just formatted. So atachittam samadatum na shaknosi mahi stiram abhyasa yogena tato mam ichchaptum dhananjaya. So it says if your heart is not pure and it is not spontaneously able to think of me as in the perfect stage, na shaknosi mahi stiram, it is not fixed on me steadily, then practice abhyas. Prabhupada says the practice of devotional service. And then you'll develop a desire to attain me. Attain me. So he doesn't say that you will attain me. You will develop a desire to attain me. In the previous verse, he has said, that you will attain me. And there is no doubt about it. Nivashasi, you are living in me. Atta urvam na samshaya. There is no doubt about it. But in the previous next verse, he says you will develop a desire to attain me. So from here, you have to go from the sadhana to the Siddh stage, and then only you can attain Krishna. So in that sense, also, it is also applicable to Kevala Bhakti, but more specifically within the flow also, what is the process of Yoga Mishra Bhakti is being discussed. So we discussed this also quite in detail. Chetasana, Negamini, effects of different thoughts. Other thoughts take us away from Krishna and they stir memories or inclinations. We saw that in the last class. Now today we will go to the next section, which is remembrance by Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Now this whole seventh answer, as I mentioned, is dealt from the fifth verse till the end of this chapter, because that is the most important thing. And now Krishna is going to elaborate that principle, what he spoke in the eighth verse, how a Yoga Mishra Bhakta remembers Krishna at the time of death. Let's take 8 and 9. 8 and 9 together. Vishwanath Chakravarti takes them together because it is related, and his translation shows that Prabhupada gives separate purports because he's explaining the purports based on pure devotional service. But within the flow, they are connected. That's why 8 and 9 are taken together. So let's discuss 8 and 9 together. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anyoranyam Sam Anusmaretaya Sarvasya Dhataram Atyan Adityavarnam Tamasah Parasta Prayanakale Manasachalena Bhaktya Yukto Yoga Balena Chaiva Bhruvormadde Pranan Aveksh Samyak Satam Param Purusham Upeti Divyam. At the time of death, Prayanakale. This was a question also of Arjuna. Where is this Arjuna uses this term Prayanakale in this question? Anyone knows? Raise your hands. Let's see how well. Why is this not working? Yeah, it's working. Where does Arjuna use this Prayanakale term in his question? Anyone knows? Where does Arjuna use this term Prayanakale in his question? Anyone knows? Shri Lalita Sumati Mataji, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu in 8.1 and 2.
8.1 and 2. Okay, interesting. Let me see. Kim tad Brahma, kim Adhyatma, kim Karma Purushottam,
Last
Adi
second.
Bhutam Katham Prota, Adi Devam, Adi Yagyam Katham Koatra, Dehesmin Madhusudana, Prayana Kalecha Katham, Geosi Niyatatma Bhi. Okay, Arjuna uses this in the Prayanakale 8.2. Okay, anywhere else? Prayanakale term has come? Good. Anywhere else? Yes, be it Krish Prabhuji.
Prabhu, Krishna uses in 7.30.
Krishna also uses that at the time of death, Prayanakale, one who is Niyatatma knows me, you know. So in 7.30, okay, let me show you also that verse. So this is how we need to study the Bhagavad Gita, left and right, top and bottom, from all directions. Prabhupada said one should study the Bhagavad Gita. 1 second, okay, chapter 7. Oh, this is Prabhupada's chapter, Bhagavad Gita. Let me open chapter 7. Yeah. Prayane kale pichamam. At the time of death, he knows me. Ta vidur yukta chetasa, because he is linked to me. He's fixed in knowledge. So Krishna uses this term. That's why Arjuna puts this, how can I know you at the time of death? So now Krishna is mentioning how one should think of him. At the time of death, prayana kale, a person endowed with devotion. Yaha bhaktya yukta. And with unwavering mind, achalena manasa, who concentrates between the brows. Bhruvur madhe pranan aveksha samyak. Through the strength of yoga practice. Yoga balena chaiva. By the practice of yoga. And who remembers, anusmaret. Now here it is smaran. And the remembrance should be continuous. And what does he remember? He has to remember the Lord. And the Lord's qualities are mentioned. What? He is Kavim. He who is omniscient, beginless, the teacher. Kavim Puranam. Puranam means beginless. And Anu Shasitaram. That is the teacher. Vishwanath Chakravarti in his commentary mentions how this is so. Smaller than the smallest. Anyor Aniyamsam. The container of everything. Sarvasya Dhataram. The inconceivable Achintya Rupam. An independent form like the sun. Aditya Varnam. Who is above Prakriti. Tamasa Parasta. That person attains the transcendental supreme person. Satam Paramam Purusham Upeti Dirvam. So Krishna here is referring to himself as a third person. Krishna is referring himself to a third person because he's not saying that you will attain me, mam. Mam is not the word used here. Satam. Sa means he and tam means, he is referring to a third person here. Why? Because this is Yoga Mishra Bhakti. And he'll Lord in Salokya. That is, even what for the Karma Mishras it was mentioned. So that is why only in Ananya Bhakti one will attain the Lord as Sham Sundar. So that is why that distinction is there. Satam Paramam Purusham Upeti Divyam. So we have to carefully see the words, carefully even see Prabhupada's word-to-word translation, and then we can all get these finer details, what Krishna is trying to mention. Without practice of yoga, it is difficult to withdraw the mind from sense objects. Without withdrawing the mind from sense objects, it is difficult to think constantly of the Lord. So a very important principle also you can see that if the mind is absorbed in sense objects, then to think of the Lord constantly is not possible. And where do you find our battle in the angas of bhakti, different execution of devotional activities? Where do you find our real battle? Which is the real battlefield in which limb of execution of devotional service, whether it is kirtanam, singing songs for the deities, or whether it is doing arti, or whether it is doing book distribution. Where do you find the difficulty? Shri Lalita Sumukhi Mataji. Okay, let us see what she has to say. Yes.
Prabhu, in chanting japa.
Oh, wonderful. Good answer. Shubha Ikshan Krishna Prabhu, you have any other answer?
Same Prabhu.
Same, yeah. So, what does it show then, Sri Lalita Sumukhi Mataji? That if you're
That
finding this difficulty, what does it show?
if we are not focusing properly on we're not knowing the seriousness of chanting.
No,
We are
we
not
are
thinking
doing
that
with
Hari.
seriousness. No, we are doing that with seriousness, but the mind is going to the sense objects. So what does it indicate in what by the symptom, what can you understand?
That mind is not controlled. If we are not, mind is not our friend.
Ah, very good, very good. That's the point. That means the Vishaya Vasanas are still there in the Chitta, and that's why the Chitta is wandering to the sense objects. So what is the solution? What is the solution, Mataji?
So actually, on Saturday, Sunday only we had this japa workshop, Prabhu. So here, one mantra at a time, and focus on the next mantra. All there are many solutions. Yeah. Yes.
Mm. Yeah, the solution is you endeavor sincerely to practice, and
Yes,
over a
Prabhu.
period of time, it will happen.
Yes, Prabhu.
Wonderful. Thank you. Therefore, one should execute bhakti along with some type of yoga practice. So the yoga of sitting in a proper asana will help us. That's why although we are not, yogis, but sitting in a proper yoga posture will help us to hear attentively mantra. So we use that. The Lord here speaks of such bhakti mixed with Ashtanga Yoga, Yoga Mishra Bhakti in 5 verses. So in 5 verses, the Lord is going to speak, and this will be from 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. No, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 9 to 13. Because 14th verse is speaking about Shuddha Bhakti. So Prayana Kale, that verse, ninth. No? Does ninth verse? No. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, ninth verse onwards. So ninth verse onwards, it is being spoken. 5 verses. And what is that? The Lord is omniscient. Kavi. Kavi means he knows everything, past, present, and future. Now, Vishnu Jagatakur, puts other side. But though one may be omniscient like Sanaka and others, one may not be eternal. Even there are personalities who may be omniscient, like Sanaka, but one may not be eternal. Therefore, the Lord is described as Purana, without beginning. He is without beginning. Though he is both omniscient and without beginning, does not indicate he becomes the instructor of bhakti as Paramatma. So, as Paramatma, he is also omniscient because Paramatma knows everything and he is without beginning. But it doesn't mean that he is the instructor of bhakti. So that's why, therefore, he is called Anushasitaram. Anushasitaram means the teacher who, by his mercy, gives instructions about devotion to himself when he appears as Krishna or Rama. So he's a teacher of bhakti. Paramatma doesn't come to teach. It's only Krishna and Rama who come to teach. No, so that is what is the meaning of Anushasitaram. Though he is merciful, he is still a difficult object to know factually compared to the smallest. He is even smaller. So, although he comes as a teacher to teach bhakti, but he is not so easy to understand because he is Anyor Anyam. He is the smaller than the smallest. Then the question is he like the Jiva, the size of an atom, because the Jiva is smallest? No, he's also the greatest size. He's smaller than the smallest, greatest than the greatest. That's how inconceivable the Lord is. And spreading everywhere. He's spreading everywhere. Since everything is contained within him. Sarvasya Dhataram. Thus he is considered to be inconceivable in form. Achintya Rupam. How is it somebody which is smaller than the smallest, simultaneously he can be bigger than the biggest? So this is inconceivable. That's why he is Achintya Rupam. Though he appears of medium size as a human being, his manifestation is independent of all others. So what is his size? Is he the biggest of biggest size or the smallest of smallest size? No, he comes in a human medium size, but he is independent of all others. He's a supreme controller. Thus, he has a form, Varna, which is like that of a sun, Aditya. Aditya Varna. Varna means color also, you know, revealing both himself and all others. So the Lord reveals himself and reveals, the Paramatma also reveals himself and the Jiva. We saw this in 6.20 to 23. So similarly, he reveals himself and all others. Thus, though he is the possessor of Maya Shakti, Prakriti, his form is transcendental to Prakriti or Maya. Tamasa Rastat. His form is not made of Maya, it is beyond Maya. He's the possessor of Maya, but his form is transcendental to Maya. So these are some of the qualities. Now, remembering these qualities, how at the time of death, Prayanakale, with unwavering mind, engaged in bhakti with constant remembrance of me. So here, Anusmarit. Anusmarit is what? Constant remembrance. Constant remembrance of me. As described above, the yogi attains me. Okay, what happened now? I don't know. I have to really detect how to, from the pen, go to the mouse. Sometimes I really can't understand how it happens. Yeah. How does he attain unwavering mind? With unwavering mind, it has to be. He attains through the strength of the practice of yoga. Yoga balena. So the spiritual strength is by chanting early in the morning. The yoga process is then described. What is the yoga process? Fixing his prana on the Agya Chakra, Bhruvar Madhya, he attains me. Note, from verse 13, it seems that attaining the Lord means attaining his abode, attaining a distant relationship with the Lord. So attaining means attaining the Lord's abode. That is Salokya, as I mentioned. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, please listen as I explain the process of meditation on the Supreme Person. He is omniscient, Kavi, eternal, Puranam, without beginning, and inconceivable to mundane intelligence. Achintya Rupa. He is smallest, yet he is also the supreme controller who maintains everyone. Sarvasya Dhataram, Anyor Aniyam. He exists eternally in his beautiful human-like form. He is beyond material nature, and because he is self-illuminating like the sun, his bodily hue illuminates his form. This is Aditya Varnam Parasta Tamasa. A person who leaves his body having made his mind steady by bhakti and who fixes his life where between his eyebrows on the strength of his practice of yoga attains the divine supreme person. So you have to make your mind steady. Then only in japa, what we try to do by having a proper bodily posture, what we try to do, anyone knows? Raise your hands. Yes, Shubha Ikshan Krishna Prabhuji.
Prabhu, we are trying to align our mind and body aspects.
Yeah,
Alignment.
by sitting in a proper posture, uh, what are we trying to do at one level? What you're saying is
It also
true, but
it also shows seriousness of the activity that we are entering the mood of.
yeah, that is also true. That is also true. Based on this statement, I am looking for some hint on a specific thing what I want to say. Yes, Nandini
Stabilizing the air
Mataji.
within.
Roji, we are trying to
Stabil.
focus on one activity only, fully on japa,
Oh, okay,
focusing on
that's all.
japa only.
Yeah, okay. Now, in order to hear the mantra, the mind has to be steady, correct? Now, before that, yeah, before the mind is steady, what we need to do then? Let me put it like this. Let us see if I can get some answer now. Shubha Ikshan Krish Prabhuji, yes.
Prabhu, deep breathe and calm the mind.
Yeah. No, by sitting in the body posture, I think we are not getting our question. By sitting in the body posture, what are we trying to do? Anyone? Dear Krishnaji, you are all true, correct. I don't say no, but that's what not exactly what I'm looking for. That's what Keshav Nath Prasad Prabhuji.
I think we don't sleep, Prabhuji. We it makes us
Yeah,
active
that's
little bit.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that okay.
We
In
attentive
order to
basically.
study the mind, what is first thing, first step? I've given you enough hints, I feel. In order to study the mind, because the mind has to be studied in order to hear the mantra, but if first, before we study the mind, what has to be done? Veer Krishnaji, yes. Yes.
Prabhu, we have to study your life here. That is, prana has to be studied. And then
And prana to be studied, then what has to be done?
for prana to be studied, we have to have a very correct posture and
Okay, correct.
breathing.
You are correct. Correct. Yeah. So the what has to be studied then? The posture itself has to be studied.
Posture has to be studied.
Okay.
Posture has to be studied.
Study posture. You know, sorry. If the posture is steady, then slowly, slowly, the mind can be steady. And then we can become steady in bhakti. So you understand, if the posture is not steady, then it's not easy. Spine and neck to be in straight line. Yes, but why we do that? The body has to be motionless. Actually, they hear the Hare Krishna mantra. Uh, mind has to be without any movement, which is a very, 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 very advanced stage. But at least try come to this, come to this point of that there is no movement of the body. And if you can come to this stage in your practices of chanting, you will see that people will start observing you and they will think you are a highly advanced devotee. Internally, you might be battling with your mind to hear the mantra. That's a different issue. But this is so powerful, steady posture that it's like you attained some mystic siddhi like that. So maintaining the steady posture is a very, very important aspect. And then the mind can be studied through breathing and actually hearing the mantra attentively. Then we can become steady in bhakti. So that is a point I just want to bring. This yoga system has been instructed to ensure that one's attention is not distracted from the Supreme Person by suffering the pain at the time of death. So that's it. Now further, Lord Krishna is explaining the process. Yadaksharam Vedavido Vadanti Vishanti Yadyatato Vitaraga Yadichanto Brahmacharyam Charanti Tate Padam Sangrahena Pravakshe. Along with the mind, Sangrahena, I will explain. Sorry, along with the method, Sangrahena, I will speak Tat Pravakshe of the final goal, Tat Padam, which Yad, the knowers of Veda Vida, call Vadanti Om Aksharam, which the sannyasi Yad Yataya. Yataya means Yatan, Yati. Sannyasis are called as Yatis. Who have given up attachment, Vitaraga, attain, Vishanti. Desiring this, Yajitanto, they practice Brahmacharya, celibacy. Just by your mentioning that the yogi should concentrate the prana at the Agya Chakra, I cannot understand this yoga. Please tell me about this yoga. Just give me a minute. I'll close the windows because there's a lot of noise and distraction. I'm in a different place here. Just give me a minute, please. Oh, I have not started the recording? No. Yes, sorry for the little disruption. Yeah. So just by you mentioning that you should concentrate on the prana and the Agya Chakra, I cannot understand this yoga. What is the matter of what is the manner of doing this yoga? What should be chanted? Upon what should one meditate? What is to be obtained by this yoga? Briefly, you should tell me. So briefly, Pravakshe, Krishna says also. Krishna speaks in 3 verses to answer him. So based on this question, in 1 verse he has told 9.10, 8.10. But now Arjuna has these questions, what is the manner of doing this yoga? What is to be chanted? What one should meditate on? What is to be obtained? So all this Krishna answers in 3 verses. That is 11, 12 and 13. So I'll just note down here 11, 12 and 13. Eight point 11, 12 and 13. 3 verses. Krishna's answer. Please listen as I describe what will be factually attained. Along with the method of attainment, Sangrahena, that Brahman, which is the knowers of Veda call Om, Akshara, which the sannyasis attain. Note, Sangraha is analyzed as the means by which something is completely understood. Samyak grayate. Oh, it has gone a little outside. Again, the same problem is coming up. Yeah, maybe I should. Yeah, this has gone out, so that's why I'm trying to get it in. Yeah. Sangraha is analyzed as the means by which something is completely samyak understood. Griyate. Griyate means grahan karna. So, completely, in 3 verses, Krishna is explaining. He doesn't go into the detail. Now, 3 verses are explaining this, and 2 verses are here now. He has already mentioned about it, Sangrahena Pravakshami. 3 verses are explaining it. This includes this verse also. Please understand that. Now, Krishna speaks in 12 and 13. This is a very important, these 2 verses are very important, and it has to do something with chanting, and I will also elaborate on that. सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्धन्य अध्यात्मनः प्राणाम् आस्थितो योगधारणम् ॐ इत्येकाक्षरं ब्रह्म व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् यः प्रजाति त्यजन् देहं स याति परमां गतिम्. He who leaves his body, yaha prayati tejan deham. Tejan means leaving. Deha is body. Prayati means one who leaves the body or he travels. While withdrawing the senses from sense objects, sarva dwarani samyamya. We will go into this more detail in the commentary when we study. While withdrawing the senses from sense objects. Concentrating the mind in the heart. Mano ridhi nirudhyacha. Now, this is also a very important principle because this term manoridhi comes only in 2 places in the entire. One is in Bhagavad Gita 8.12 and another is in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 8th canto. I don't remember now exactly which chapter and which verse number, but Gajendra, when he withdrew his consciousness from his body where he was battling with the crocodile and fixed his consciousness in the region of the heart. And then he remembered his prayers from the previous life, and then he recited those prayers and offered a flower, and the Lord immediately came. So there also the term Manoridhi is used. So this is also very important for us. Concentrating the mind in the heart, fixing the prana at the Agya Chakra. Murdhanya Adhyatmana Pranam Asthita. Completely absorbing his thoughts in me. Yoga Dharanam. uttering Om iti ekakshara Brahma Vyaharan, and remembering me constantly. Mam Anusmaran attains my planet. Sayati Paramam Gatim. So the Paramam Gatim is he'll attain my planet, he says. He doesn't say he'll attain me. Paramam Purusham Divyam, Krishna had mentioned in the just few verses back previously. Now let's go into this, and after I finish the explanation, the purport, then I will go into, how it is related to our chanting. Elaborating what was previous spoken, the Lord describes the method of yoga, withdrawing the openings of all the senses, sarvadvarani, from the external objects. So withdrawing the openings, it is mentioned here. Openings. Yeah, here. Openings. It is not single, this is plural. And there is external sense objects. So now this, I'll have to now share the screen, because to understand this, you have to have a little background, which I will share another slides from our Japa workshop. Just give me a minute, please. Yes, I got it. Yeah. Okay, I'm sharing the screen now. I got the slide. Actually, I should have inserted it before only. So the same verses, the Sarvadvarani same, and now openings and doors, opening and closing of the doors is mentioned there. All the gates, doors. Doors is dwara. Dwara is doors. Now our body has different types of doors, and here is, our heart also, and Krishna is also seated next to our heart as Paramatma. But the outer door is the body in one sense. And then our environment, the sense objects in chanting. So there are the sense objects. So body fatigue, you have to close this door. That means you should be indifferent to all the bodily fatigue. Then the sense objects, senses and sense objects are there. Then the bodies. Then the internal senses and sense objects are there in the Antakaran. And then the mind. Now this mind, Manoridhi, the mind should be fixed in the heart. When the mind is fixed in the heart, then the mantra which is uttered from the ear, because these gates are opened, it enters the heart, and ultimately, we can attain Krishna's mercy and chant from the heart. So heart here refers to the soul, which is the seat of consciousness. But if we are battling with the senses and sense objects, battling Sita and Ushna, and our consciousness is absorbed here, then our consciousness is not absorbed in hearing the mantra. So only when you chant the Manoridhi, and when you chant, when the mind is fixed in the heart, that means the mind is not fixed on the body, mind is not fixed on the sense objects, or the mind is not fixed in the internal sense objects, senses and sense objects. Then instead of Om, we recite the Hare Krishna mantra, then the mantra enters the heart. So that is the point, and through this mandala, we can understand this. So there is this opening and closing of gates. So here, withdrawing openings of all senses. The senses open to sense objects. And there are these 5 different types of sense objects. This is with respect to eyes, ears, nose, and tongue, and smell, and the touch. But this is one at the essential level. The mental level, it is subtle sense objects, the antakaran. At a body level, it is the body itself, which is feeling, heat, cold, duality of this world, you know. If your open consciousness is open, then you're fixed. Your consciousness is fixed in bodily consciousness, or consciousness is fixed at the sensual consciousness, or the consciousness is fixed at a mental level, But all that you have to transcend, and the mind should be fixed in the heart, and you have to chant Om. And here for us, it is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So that's the point I wanted to make with respect to this, From the external, confining the mind to the heart. Now, again, this is very important. Confining the mind to the heart. That is what, in the Japasha workshop, we discussed about chanting from the heart. This is a famous statement, chant be heart deep, not lip deep. And then there are other considerations with no desire for other objects, fixing the prana between the brows, murdhanya, and taking shelter of completely yoga dharanam, uttering just one syllable, Om, the form of Brahman. So here for us, uttering Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that is chanting from the heart, Shuddhanam, one Shuddhanam, and meditating continuously upon me, Mam Anusparan, represented by Om, giving up his body, Yate Salokyam Paramam Gatim. So this is the method a Yoga Mishra Bhakta leaves. From this statement, it would appear that this Yoga Mishra Bhakta attains a similar state as the three types of Sakam Bhaktas mentioned in the chapter 7. So the three threads of Sakam Bhaktas, Artho, Jigyasu, Artharthi, when their desires are fulfilled because their object of worship is the Lord, so they get the result in the form of attaining the Lord, that is Salokya. So here the same result, even the Yoga Mishra Bhakta attains. So now about devotional service, verses 14, 15, and 16 will speak, which I will take after I take up questions. So any questions, any clarifications you have up till now? Any questions? Yes, Bir Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I have two questions, Prabhu. First, Prabhu,
Yes.
this verse 12 and 13, Prabhu, other than chanting Om, rest everything we can follow in our chanting? I mean, this process, what is mentioned in...
Yes, you can do it, but even that is not so easy. Chanting, at least our tongue should vibrate at the gross level, but chanting from the heart is a very exalted state, I feel at a practical level, sitting in a proper bodily posture, and sitting in a very sattvic posture and trying to hear the mantra, that is more important. Whether it is the Ashtanga Yoga process or the Bhakti Yoga process, the purification happens from the gross to the subtle. And in the third chapter, sorry, not in the third chapter, in the third canto of the Kapil Shiksha, which is 28th chapter, Ashtanga Yoga, liberation by Ashtanga Yoga, and even in the second canto, first chapter, liberation of a Bhakti Mishra yogi is mentioned there. He's a yogi, and Bhakti is Gunibhut, it's not Pradhan. So both these places, when this yogi is practicing the Ashta Angas, Yama Niyama, there is cross purification, and further with pratyahara happening, there is subtle levels of purification. When the humors of the body are pacified, then he can focus on more subtle things. The mind is more ready for steady practice of meditation on subtler aspects. So what I have found and experienced, that when I introduce this methodology of chanting Sarvadvarani, most devotees said that when we try to do it, we get a headache. The headache we get is because the body airs and the body humors. I mean, when the body humors, I mean kapha pitta vayu are not balanced because of our lifestyle. It requires a very, very high level of mental regulation. So that's why I've stopped discussing about this methodology. But somebody who's qualified, who through sitting in asanas for long periods has mastered the sitting in straight, erect, and sitting for long times. Of course, one should first practice sitting steadily for half an hour without any distractions, steadily. So, like that, if one tries to do that over a period of time, with the inner purification happening at a subtler level, then this is possible. This is possible. I hope it makes
Right,
sense to
right.
you.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
Vinita
Prabhu, this
Mataji?
Prabhu, just one more question, just clarification, Prabhu.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Prabhu, this verse 6.35 and uh, and 8.8 both are Yogamist Bhakti indicating
No, 6.38 is
35
basically speaking
35
about
6.35 अभ्यासेन तु कौन्तेय वैराग्येण च गृह्यते असंशय महाभाव.
there Krishna about that's a general principle which is an answer
To control
to
mind.
how the
Control
mind
mind.
which is chanchalam and asthiram.
Hmm.
So that abhyas and vairagya there is ashtanga yoga,
Hmm.
and which will be devotional ashtanga yoga, but it is bhakti mishra yoga. But abhyas and vairagya is there in all practices. So yoga mishra also there is abhyas was mentioned, na? In the previous verses we saw that abhyas.
Hmm. Hmm.
And for
Hmm.
bhakti yoga, abhyas is trying to hear the mantra. And vairagya we need not practice because vairagya is not a limb of bhakti. Vairagya will come, natural detachment will come because the mind is fixed on Krishna. Prabhupada says that when the mind is fixed on Krishna, then naturally it is detached from Maya. Right?
Yes,
So
yes.
that's why that abhyas and vairagya alternative method Krishna is suggesting in the middle six chapters, that is by Bhakti Yoga, and especially in Kevala Bhakti, it is Maya Sakta Manapartha Yogam Vinchan Madashaya Asamshayam Samagrama Mam Yata Gyasasi Tatshunu. So Maya Sakta, the mind is attached to Krishna, then the conquered material existence. So that's the prayojan, that's the goal. So again, how to do that? All these Jnana, Vigyan, Krishna is speaking in all these chapters. So another alternative method for Abhyas and Vairagya is by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, where there is no separate endeavor for Vairagya required. Whereas in other paths, Vairagya, Jnana and Vairagya are the Angas in those paths, like in Jnana and Ashtanga. Are you clear about this?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Vinita Mataji had a question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanavad Pranam.
Yes.
Prabhuji, my question comes like on posture. We are not able to sit in the correct posture due to some bodily restrictions.
Yeah.
Then
This,
how do we correct that part?
this I have dealt in our japa sessions, that those who are elderly, who are seniors, who have health issues, actually they are more fortunate in one sense because they know they are helpless conditions. So they helplessly should, chant from the heart in one sense. So it it doesn't matter now at this condition, we cannot, see that, they can keep that posture because
Yeah. Means that
so
door now you connect your mind to your
the
heart.
mood and attitude should be that, oh, I'm in more helpless condition, so let me call out Krishna from the heart.
From
At the same time, you should do whatever is needed, so that you don't go to sleep. Like if you're sitting in a chair, try to sit in a wooden chair. Try to keep your hands straight and not try to relax so that you might go to sleep. Don't take support of the back so that you go to sleep. So all these factors have to be taken in consideration so that you don't sleep and you really want to call Krishna from the heart because you're in a helpless condition, because you know that the body is failing. So in that way, it's a greater impetus to chant from the heart. So that's how we should take it. And at the same time, as I mentioned, that that should not become the reason that we gravitate towards the lower modes also, and not hear the mantra. So whatever it takes by which we can hear the mantra, we should do that, which is
So
needful.
we
That is the
can, while
principle.
chanting, focus on hearing the mantra and connect the mind
Yes.
with the heart, like the doors that you explained with the slide. So that can be
Basically,
focused on.
no, basically, again, now we'll not go into the discussion. It's a long discussion as part of Japa workshop. That basically the tongue has to vibrate the mantra and the ear has to hear the mantra.
Yeah, I know.
But the mind comes in between, and the mind's layers are there, 16 layers are there. And sometimes, we need to penetrate the mind so that the mantra enters the heart. So that the mind has to withdraw from externally and become internal. The mind has to become internal and be fixed in the heart. So here again, the heart means the spiritual heart, which is the seat of consciousness. And then that chanting is actually chanting from the heart.
And when
And
you
that
reach that
chanting,
level, the posture doesn't matter.
yeah,
If you
when you
do it,
reach that level, the posture doesn't matter. Like mother, I just give this example. Mother Yashoda doesn't sit in any lotus posture to take the name of Krishna because in her heart she has prema for Krishna. So she can sleep also and chant. She can, while churning the butter also, she is fully absorbed in Krishna. She is Krishna Mai. She is Yashoda Mai. She's completely, her consciousness is in Krishna. So, she, while churning also, she is fully absorbed in Krishna because of prema. So that happens. But for sadhakas who have not attained prema, we have to attentively hear so that we can ultimately come to the point of chanting from the heart.
got it,
Is that
Prabhuji.
okay?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Any other questions regarding this section? 8 to 14. I'll just take one verse and end the discussion because Yoga Mishri to Ananya Bhakti is being compared in this verse now. So Krishna now contrasts with Ananya Bhakti, which is Yoga Mishra Bhakti, which in few verses he discussed in 3 verses, and Bhaktya Yukto Yoga Balena Chaiva. Prabhupada in his purports also mentions that Shat Chakra Yoga, along with Bhakti they practice. But now Krishna speaks about how his Ananya Bhakti is so simple. This is the only place in the Gita where Krishna says Sulabha. I can be easily attained by Ananya Bhakti. Whereas even Yoga Mashra Bhakti, you have to practice certain limbs of yoga. But Bhakti is Pradhan there. But by saying that this Sulabha, he says Ananya Bhakti is superior to Yoga Mishra Bhakti, and he speaks this verse. Ananyacheta satatam yo mam smarati nityasha tasyaham sulabha partha nityayuktasya yogina. The devotee who remembers me. Yo yogina mam smarati. Daily, nityasha. At all times. First it is daily and daily all times. Without deviation to other processes or goals. Ananya cheta. So Ananya cheta here is translated by Vishnu Chakrata, deviation to other processes or other goals. Who desires association with me in one of my primary relations? Nitya Yukta. Nitya Yukta is in one of the relations. Sakya, Dasya, Vatsalya or Madhurya. Easily attains me. Easily. Sulabha. Tasya aham sulabha partha. Let us see Vishnu Chakrata. Having spoken of Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti, Bhakti mixed with karma, mentioned in Artho, Jigyasu, Artharthi, and with desire for liberation in Jara Marana Mokshaya 729, and also Bhakti mixed with yoga in this chapter 9 to 13. Moksha Kami, Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Now the Lord speaks of Kevala Bhakti, the best Bhakti, devoid of any material tinge. The mind of that devotee is free from performing other processes such as Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga, free from worship of other persons or devatas, and free from other goals such as attainment of Swarga or Moksha. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, and even Jnana Karmadya Anavritam. Note, the Jnana Mishra Bhakta, referred to as a Jnani in the enumeration of the four types of devotee, does not have a desire for material results nor for liberation. Therefore, he has not been mentioned in the previous sentence. So, only the Sakam Bhaktas have been mentioned. The Jnana Mishra Bhakta is not mentioned. Because ultimately, from Vishwanath Chakravarti's perspective, this Jnana Mishra Bhakta, Bahunam Janmanamante, Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. He will ultimately take up to Shuddha Bhakti and become a Keval Bhakta. However, the Jnana Mishra Bhakta retains some elements of Gyan process while practicing Bhakti and is thus distinguished from Kevala Bhakta who performs only Bhakti. So there is some Jnana Mishran, that's why he is called as a Jnana Mishra Bhakta, but Kevala Bhakta performs only Bhakti. Thus he is called Ananya Cheta, the mind not thinking anything else except the Lord. So this is another, criteria of who is a Ananya Bhakta. Now, Ananya. Now, what all meanings did Vishwanath Chakra Thakur give? Let us see. What all you heard now, let us see now. Who will answer? Ananya. What are the meanings? Who will answer? We heard in this verse just now. What all it means? Anyone would like to try, they can raise their hands. Ananya. Okay, Bir Krishnaji, yes.
Prabhu, mind has no other thought process other than Lord.
This is the definition which, that is the, and what else Ananya means? Ananya means with mind not thinking of anything except the Lord. This is
and
a very high standard. This is 3 I
and
put here.
also he's free from karma and jnana process. There is no tinge of those limbs.
So, Ananya means no karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtang yoga, or mishra yoga, pradhani bhuta, pradhani bhuta bhakti. Then, Ananya, no worship of
Demigods.
devtas. So, this criteria is easy to fulfill, but even this criteria is not so easy to fulfill. What to speak of this criteria? That the mind doesn't flow to any other thought, no anya, except the Lord. So we have to come to this point. Ananya Cheta Satatam, daily and at all times. Yoma Smarati. Smarati means Smaran, I mentioned in the Tasmat Sarveshwar. Smaran is love. When you're in love, you always remember the object of love. He remembers me every day, Nityasha, constantly, Satatam, not depending upon appropriate time, place, person, or purity. I can be easily attained Sulabha by that person, by that bhakti. It is not mixed with the difficulties encountered in practicing yoga, jnana, and other processes. There are difficulties encountered in all this, but Sulabha he attains. He constantly desires association with me, Nitya Yuktasya. This grammatical form expresses desire in the future as well as the past. Yogina refers to the person doing Bhakti Yoga. So here Yogina refers to Bhakti Yoga. Or it can mean a person who has a relationship yoga with the Lord in Sakya Das and other relationships. I mentioned that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. From Gita 7:16 to 28, I have explained Bhakti mixed with Karma and Jnana, which is performed by the distress, the inquisite, and the desires of wealth, Artati, and the men of knowledge, Jnani. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur includes also the Jnani here. In the Gita 7:21, I have explained birth, death, and liberation. In other words, I have instructed you about the nature of bhakti that predominates over karma and jnana. Karma jnana pradhani bhuta bhakti. From the verse Kavim Puranam 8.9, I have explained bhakti mixed with yoga. Yoga mishra bhakti, or the nature of yoga pradhani bhuta bhakti. So karma jnana pradhani bhuta bhakti, yoga pradhani bhuta bhakti. You know, but pradhan is bhakti, please remember. But there is a tinge of yoga. Here there is karma, then it becomes karma pradhan bhut bhakti. If jnana is more pradhan, then it is jnana pradhan. There can be mixture of karma jnana pradhan bhut bhakti, which will come up in the 9th chapter. And I have given some hints about exclusive devotion between these verses just to give you a test. Now please listen as I explain the nature of Kevala Bhakti. I am easily attained by such Bhakti who is ever united with me. Nitya Yukta, who remembers me with his mind restrained from attraction for all other objects. Ananya Cheta, and who is exclusively devoted to me. Yo Mam Smarati Nityasha. In other words, it is very difficult to achieve me by performing devotion that is mixed with karma or jnana, pradhani bhut bhakti. So, if one cannot attain me, Krishna is saying, what will a karma jnana pradhani bhut bhakti bhakta attain? What will he attain? Who will answer this? What will he attain? What will he attain? Shubha Krishna Prabhuji.
Prabhu, spiritual planets as it is mentioned in 8.13.
Please don't give generic answers. Is Golok not a spiritual planet or what?
No, Prabhu, actually I was thinking to ask that question at the end of the session because there you mentioned it is saying that it will attain spiritual planet but not Krishna. So I wanted to understand that as well.
No, you did not hear then attentively what I said. I did not say like that.
Okay, sorry, Prabhu.
Let us now. Okay, let's hear from others. Vinuta Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Danvat Pranam.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
try,
you were able to
Prabhuji. I'm
understand the
not sure.
question.
Yeah, like if they cannot attain Supreme Lord, then what will this karma and gnani, pradhani bhuta bhaktas they
See, no. Hold on. Please remember Artho, Artharthi, Jigyasu, and the Mokshakami. All are Sakam Bhaktas. Ultimately, they practice Mishra Bhakti, but they attain the Lord. They attain the Lord. But they cannot attain me, Krishna is saying there. Me. And attain the Lord means they attain Paramam Purusham, the Supreme. So what is the difference? That's what I'm saying. Attaining me and attaining God,
in
Paramam Purusham. What?
his sweetness, they cannot attain the sweetness of the Lord in exchange of the rasas.
Very good. This is the answer. That when Krishna is saying me, he is referring to Vraja Krishna.
Sham Sundar.
That is Sham Sundar. Yeah, very good, Sham. So when he says Tam Paramam Purusham, then he is referring to Vaikuntha. And the term was attained, all attain Salokya. They attain Salokya. They attain the abode of the Lord, the Vaikuntha. But they cannot attain, Golok in the specific rasa with Krishna. So that's what is the difference between the result of Kevala Bhakti and Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti. This is to be understood. Okay, so the remaining verses we will discuss tomorrow and we'll continue this discussion. But any questions on up till now what we have discussed. Any questions, any clarifications you have? No. Okay. So we will stop here, and tomorrow and day after, I think we'll be able to complete this chapter. Then we'll begin with most confidential knowledge, Rajguhya Yoga, which is coming in the middle of the middle. The middle 6 chapters are 7 to 12, and the middle of that is 9 and 10. So 9 and 10 are again more important. So we will discuss the 9th chapter maybe from Thursday onwards. Thank you very, very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Hare Krishna.